So great to be here this morning. My name is Alex, lead pastor here at Anchor. Man, it's just going to be an awesome morning. Would you give it up one time for the worship team? Man, they did fantastic this morning. That drummer left his sticks laying all over the stage this morning. Looks like toothpicks are laying around. And we're so excited. Man, if you're a first or second time guest, welcome to Anchor. So excited to have you part of our community this morning. If you're watching online, man, welcome. We know most of you will watch online before you ever come. We look forward to meeting you soon. Today is our last part of our series. We've been talking on momentum for the last several weeks, and super excited to bring this series to a close today. But I want to start this morning by asking you a very simple question. Who here likes to laugh? Anybody like to laugh? Some people laugh. I find laughing to be very contagious. Dalton and I were talking before service this morning, and both of us couldn't stop yawning, and it was amazing when one yawned, the other one yawned, and when it was just like this reciprocal, rotating yawning. But when you laugh, it's the same way. But, you go through seasons of life to where you laugh a lot, right? And it seems like times it's like, man, there's nothing that can go wrong. It's scientifically proven that laughing can reduce anxiety, can lower your blood pressure, and can remove a lot of negative emotions. So laughing can be a healthy thing, right? So who, again, raise your hand if you like to laugh, right? How many of you love to laugh? You're like, yeah, see, I'm two hands up. Like, I'm one of those guys that it's like, Aiden and I struggle with the same thing. We have an interesting sense of humor that most people can't get because they assume we're being rude, but really we're just being sarcastically funny. And it's like we're very cut and dry. And so when somebody does something, it's hard not to go, how'd that work out for you? And they take offense. People take offense to it because we get to the place that it's like we think we're just telling a joke, and everybody else thinks we're being serious. When the reality is, we just have stone cold faces. We're just like, you know what I mean? So when you're laughing, there's so many different ways to laugh, right? We all love it. Have you ever been invited to something that made you laugh when you received the invitation? So I was doing some research. RSVPs, if you've ever been a part of a wedding, you like people to respond and let you know so you can game plan, right? Here's a couple of invitations that I thought that really made me laugh. You can see on the screen, I gladly attend. I regretfully decline. I love this one. I resentfully attend. Hey, we've all been there, right? I enthusiastically decline. Yes. Or I will decline to respond, but ultimately will attend. Seriously, come on. Some of you are just like, this is when you're supposed to laugh, right? When you're talking on invitation, you're talking about inviting people into community, we will decline to respond, but, we're going to be there, and we just assume everybody's going to know that my presence is going to be there because we think our presence is really important. Okay, what about this one? Let's go to the next slide, right? All right, I will attend. I will not attend. That's kind of boring. I will say I plan to attend, then I won't show without any explanation, even though you already had to pay for me in the advance head count. That is hashtag real life story. No lie. It's like, have you ever gone to an event and you invited somebody and you're like, oh yeah, we're going to be there, and you show up and it's like, womp, womp, womp. Right? Okay, or maybe we'll attend. I will even bring a date, even though the invite offered no indication that I could bring a date. But you're cool with that, right? These are awesome wedding. Truthfully, if I received a wedding invitation like this, I'd be like, oh, I am so going. Because I would just want to see the fireworks. Anybody here, are you a people watcher? There is no greater thing than to sit in the airport. Maybe some of you are like, oh, why would you go sit in the airport? It is amazing if you're a people watcher because you see every emotion known to the human existence. People running. With bags in tow, it's like Home Alone all over again. And you would think that then you see stress. You see people like fiddling, trying to use this new cool phone that they just got to try to get on the plane. I mean, you just see, and then you just sit back and you're like, wow. I just sit and just cross your arms and you're like, wow, God, you're so good. Oh, I mean, when you laugh, it just brings so much joy, not just to you, but to other people. It's because it's contagious. But when people invite you to things, how do you feel? Do you feel awkward? Do the invitations make you laugh? Does that idea of doing life with people, does that get us so caught up in the emotions of the stress and anxiety that it's like, oh, that ultimately we're going to be the one that say, well, I say I'm going to attend. And it's easier to say yes than it is to be honest and go, you know what, that's really not for me. But so many times we invite other people into community. We invite other people into relationship with the expectation that they're going to say yes, but they're ultimately going to let us down and not show up. Maybe you've been there. Maybe you've struggled with figuring out how to invite people into community, how to invite people to church and invite people to do things and be in relationship with you, and you've been let down so many times over and over and over again that the truth and the easy answer now has become, to save myself heartache, to save myself hurt, I'm just going to stay silent. This idea of inviting people into community, we start building walls up around ourselves. And we isolate ourselves into these boxes and go, you know what? I enjoy this. This is making a difference in my life. And that's good enough. And the reason why we talk about it being good enough is we build these walls around us to save ourselves from hurt, to save ourselves from pain. But the reality is, in our attempt to save ourselves hurt and save ourselves pain, all we are really doing is causing prolonged hurt and pain for other people, because they don't get to experience the life change you get to experience. We invite others to community when we feel uniquely connected to that community. Are you uniquely connected to a community of spiritual followers of Jesus? Or do you find yourself having changed because of your faith, changed because of who you do life with every week? There needs to be a connection to a spiritual family and a spiritual community that will be unique and different than every other community you're connected to. This should be different. This is the only community that exists in your life that should change you and affect your behavior out there. I want you to think about that for just a second. If you aren't experiencing life change, if you're not experiencing Jesus coming in and doing something significant in your life, then you're definitely not going to experience it Monday through Saturday. It is hard. I'm going to be honest with you. It is hard to sit. It was hard to sit at the KU football game last night and not want to be a coach. Like, it was difficult, and it's hard to keep. And if you ever go to like something, I'm an avid sports fan. I may yell at the TV during the Chiefs game today. It's going to happen. I mean, unless Patrick throws like 10 touchdowns, but. Brooke will always say, and she even said it this morning, she's like, I don't know why they don't just pay you to coach. Maybe Aiden gets it from her more than me. And it's hard because Brooke has to remind me. She goes, remember, you're a follower of Jesus. And I'm like, well, Jesus would coach this team different. Just saying. But I'm not even going to mention that. Yeah, I'll pray for you later. But this connection to your spiritual family, this connection to followers of Jesus should be different. It should change you. Why does it change you? Because you should grow And if you have not heard by now, we believe here at Anchor, growing people change. Which means there's hope that your future can be different than it is today. The struggles that you face today, you can overcome them. But I promise you, you will not do it alone. You need relationship to do that. You're surrounded by people who are waiting for you to experience that real, true, authentic life change. And you know what? It may be awkward those first few times you invite. It may be funny. And yes, you may get stood up. You're going to get told no. You're going to get told yes, and nobody's going to show. But it is, if you've truly, authentically experienced the love and grace of Jesus, then there is nothing, you should seek out nothing else but continuing to grow in your faith, in your connection to Jesus, which means that the invitation of others to join you in that journey will be a natural byproduct of that. Let's look to the book of Matthew for why it's important to invite others into community. Matthew chapter 25, verses 34 and 36. There should be a slide on the screen, or turn in your Bibles if you'd like to follow along. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father." I want to caveat right here. If you were here for our last series, we learned that being blessed by God was being given divine favor and opportunity. So as we follow Jesus and as we grow closer in our relationship with Jesus, we get blessing, which is divine favor and opportunity. Now we're with God, and now He's looking at us as blessed. Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. So since God created you, God created everything around us, He is preparing us for this moment. He's preparing us for the time where we get to see God face to face and can say this, "For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." This passage is saying that we're going to receive a heavenly inheritance when we help others, and we help others with their needs. Very simply, he says, man, people are going to be hungry. If you see somebody hungry and you've got extra food, as a follower of Jesus, it should be natural to go, "Here you go." If they're thirsty, give them something to drink. If they're sick, look after them. If they're in prison, go visit. If they need clothing, give them something to wear. If they're a stranger, invite them in. Now, do you understand I hope you see the correlation between all of these. There is something extremely valuable that I want you to take away from this and all of these different things Jesus was talking about. It is the requirement of your presence in their life, which requires Jesus is present in your life. I want you to think about that. How can you feed the hungry unless you go where the hungry are? And I'm not talking about when your kids wake up in the morning and are like, "Dad, we haven't had anything to eat since 7 o'clock last night." I know, you've been asleep. Or, "Dad, it's time, I just got done with basketball practice, I have not had anything to drink." Well, that's why didn't you take a bottle of water? I forgot. I'm talking about the true, real, and felt needs of people. But is there any greater need for humanity than to be connected to Jesus? That idea that it doesn't matter if they're hungry, it doesn't matter if they're thirsty, those are all needs that are superseded by their bigger need, which is they need to be connected to the Savior of the world. And why is it that Jesus specifically pointed out the idea of hunger and thirst and the need for clothing and the need for visitation? Because those things will give you an open door to invite them into relationship with Jesus. But if you've not done those first, that idea of like them saying yes, but then saying no. Because we have totally changed in our culture over the last 20 or 30 years that people need to know how much you care first. It's not a matter of like, well, you know what, let's just jump, way off the deep end and let's not care about them. Let's just care, because we get a little prideful, if we're honest. We get a little prideful in inviting people to come to church with us, joining us in community, because it's like, well, we've spent so many years getting rewarded for inviting people to things that it's like, if I sign somebody, if I can send out this text and somebody will sign up for my cell phone service, I get $50 off my next bill. I mean, we get rewarded for showing people love and showing people faith, and we lose the true authenticity that comes from the greatest need we have, which is a growing relationship with Jesus. Open doors to invite them to connect with Jesus, to connect with our spiritual community. When we're truly connected, we will have the confidence to follow through with the invitation of others to join in our community. Are you connected? Because true connectivity means that there is always going to be someone you need to be bringing with you. What is it that we lack? Oh no, I'm going to be very transparent with you. Is that all right? Is that cool? I was telling our leadership team last week that these last two parts of our Momentum series has been very difficult, because there are days that I struggle with what I'm getting ready to say. I wish I had. I wish I had the confidence to invite. Like that internal confidence. Because yes, I will tell you, I've been on the other end of I'll be there with no-shows quite often. And I will tell you, it's also really easy to hand somebody a card than it is to just do life with them. But where does my confidence come from? How can I walk around being confident in who Jesus is and what Jesus is doing in my life to the point that other people will see that and want the same thing? It starts with this. Confidence is knowing that my life is different because of my community. My life is different. And I want everybody to take an inventory of yourself, very simply. Excuse me. Is your life different today because of your connection to a spiritual family? I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands. I'm not asking for you to answer. I want you to think about yourself. Is my life different today than it was 6 months ago? Is it different than it was a year ago? Is it different than it was 2 years ago? And if the answer to that question is no, I want you to think about why. What is blocking me from experiencing true life change? You see, it's our choices, our behavior changes, it's perspective shifting, it's attitude altering. When we choose to follow Jesus, it should change everything. And in that change, the people closest to us should see it, they should feel it, they should be able to recognize it, and they should want it. Because it doesn't change you for the worse, it changes you for the better. It requires us to live in a way that people who know us but don't know Christ will want to know Christ because they know us. Live in a way that people who know us but don't know Christ will want to know Christ because they know us. It's living your life in a way that points people to Jesus. What do people say about you when you're not around? Because that's really indicative of your character. What do people say about you when you're not in the room? Yes, you could go from the standpoint, yes, that says a lot about them. And yeah, it does. But I'm not talking to them. I'm talking about us. and how we have a job to do. When we said yes to Jesus, we said yes to sharing Jesus with the world. When Christ has changed us, our connection to our community will change. And those around us will notice that change. And they will want change for themselves. Billy Graham says this: we are the Bibles the world is reading. We are the creeds the world is needing. We are the sermons the world is heeding. Very simply put, I want you to get this. The world is paying attention to you. The world sees you. I had a mentor in my life back right after Brooke and I had gotten married who was challenging me on this idea, because I can be a very opinionated person. And sometimes it comes across like I have all the answers to everything. It's not my intent. That's just how it kind of comes across. And I've grown, and I'm a lot better than I used to be, and I've still got a long way to go, knowing when it's time to say something and when it's time not to. But I had a mentor look at me, and he goes, if you will live your life with this one idea at hand as a pastor, it'll change how you lead people, is that there's always somebody watching. It doesn't matter if you're in a closed room by yourself, there is always somebody watching. And at first I'm like, oh yeah, that makes absolutely no sense. And 10 years later, it makes absolute perfect sense. You may think you're alone. You may think that nobody's going to remember. It boggles my mind sometimes the things people remember of things I've said, because I'm like, I wish that was not what you would remember, because that was not my best moment. Because it's how the enemy works, is he's going to feed people what it's going to take to keep them away from connecting to a spiritual family, because he doesn't want you to have life change. That's not what he desires for you. He wants to keep you just as you are, and he's going to convince you that how you are is okay, because he knows if you just realize that if you allow Jesus to do something unique and different inside of you, how your culture around you will change. He doesn't want that. But the people are paying attention. But the confidence to follow through with this invitation will come when I know that Christ has changed me, and I know that I am different, and I know it's okay that this is how I used to be, and it's like, you know what? Yeah, I didn't make the best choices, but look what Jesus has done for me. It requires life change. Are you confident in that change? Has Christ changed you? If not, what is holding you back? What is holding you back from allowing God to change you? If so, be confident to invite others into your spiritual family, because it starts with us. It starts with us. But what is this idea of inviting people to church? We've been talking about it now this is the second week. Why is it important? And I want you to get this next point, because this is where it all comes down to. Why is inviting people to church? Because it's doing this. It is inviting people to church is inviting people into relationship with us so that they can have relationship with Jesus. You are the conduit. You are God's chosen hands to reach humanity. And this is a great tool and mechanism. You should be living your life with what Jesus is doing in you, but this is God's gift to you to help you reach the people around you. Inviting people to church is simply like inviting them to dinner, inviting them to your home, inviting them to your family, inviting them into relationship. But I promise you, it will require authenticity. It will require a real life change. You need to be secure and confident in the life change that you have experienced. Because inviting people into community, into this community, you're like, well, this is just a church growth principle. No, this is a kingdom growth principle. Because you are surrounded by people who need Jesus, and you are the only person who can reach them. I've heard a lot of people say that you can effectively reach 8 to 10 people that you're surrounded by. So if you think about that, for me to grow the kingdom of God by myself, I effectively could reach 8 to 10 people. Take that times everybody in this room, where do you have? You have a culture-shifting community of people is what you have. But I can make a promise to you about Anchor and our church and our community and our spiritual family is we will always have room for one more person. If every chair in this room were filled, we would go find an empty chair to sit here. There will always be chairs waiting for our relationships to join our community. Because here's what I want you to understand is these chairs are not empty chairs to Jesus. And I want you to get this. They are not just sitting here empty. When Jesus is looking down on us today, what He is saying is He's going, Dalton, I have a friend who's supposed to be sitting right next to you. April, you have a friend who's supposed to be right there. He sees the faces and the relationships that you currently have in your life, that He's waiting for you to take that step of confidence and go, you know what? It's not my church's job. It's not my pastor's job. It's not my boss's job. It's my job. Because this seat shouldn't be empty because there is somebody who needs hope. There's somebody who needs love. There's somebody who needs grace. There's somebody who needs life change, and they are in my life. And it is my job to build relationship with them so that they can see Jesus in me and want Jesus for themselves. But it has to start with us. It has to start with me. Intentions are great because I think it's fair to say we all have good intentions. But they require follow-through, which means they require action. We are more connected than any generation that's ever come before us. Social media is allowing us to keep up with and get to know new people and get to connect with people you haven't maybe seen since high school. Some of you, that's a little bit farther away than some others. I'm now in getting closer to the farther away category. But invitations to join communities and relational circles through social media only go so far. We're more connected than ever, yet more lonely than ever. Are we truly connected with people? Invitations, this idea of doing life together. Relationship is not genuinely experienced apart from actual relationships in physical space and time. It may be great. You may have fantastic relationships that you can email and Facebook message and all of those things. But true, authentic relationship has to happen face to face. There's a difference. Brooke and I, right before we got married, we lived like 3 hours apart. And it was amazing to me the difference that would happen when she would come for the weekend or during the week. It was like our relationship just went to a new level. Like our connectivity changed. Because there is something unique and genuine that you experience in face-to-face physical relationship and interaction. Because see, we can't mistake information for intimacy. Just catching up with somebody's Facebook post doesn't mean you've caught up with somebody. Just following somebody on Twitter doesn't mean you're really following them. Just thinking it's cool to hit the like button on Instagram while I do it doesn't really mean that I'm in relationship with them. We cannot mistake communication for community. Just keeping up with someone and what's going on in their life is not building community because virtual relationships are not complete. The experience of authentic community and genuine relationship is powerful to lead someone to life change. Think about that. Genuine, authentic community and relationship could be possibly the single domino to fall in the effect for someone to find Jesus for the first time in their life. Introducing people to our spiritual community will be an important aspect to their journey towards Christ, as well as your journey towards Christ. Be confident, be real, be genuine, be authentic, be you, the true, real, changed you, that the you that Jesus came in and made a difference, the you that has a unique connection to a community that should always be growing. As the worship team comes back, I want a few reflection questions I would like you to just be thinking about today. How important was community in your season of learning about God for the very first time? How important was the aspect of having someone to help you and join you on that journey? Where did community play a part? Because real, authentic community says this: there's accountability, there's love, there's grace, there's change. Maybe your question number 2, have you ever been insecure about when inviting someone to church? Why? Why not? Because there are people who are insecure, and there's those of us that aren't insecure, and it would be great to learn for the people who are a little timid about it. It'd be great to learn from those who aren't how to do it and to do it well. And last, who in my life is waiting for my invitation into my spiritual family? I promise you, you have someone. Today, if you're sitting here going, well, you know, Alex, I really don't know anybody, then I'm going to encourage you to let God come in and change your perspective, to change your attitude, to change how you see the world, because there are going to be hungry people. There are going to be thirsty people. There are going to be people who are in trouble, who are sick, and who've made poor decisions, and they need you to be present in their life, and they need you to be confident, to follow through, confident, to actually take that step to invite them into the community, the best community you could be a part of, which is in community with Jesus. Why? Because there is a lost and dying world who needs the hope that you have. And Jesus needs you to step up, grab the bat, go to the plate, and start knocking them out of the park. Because the chair is next to you. They have a name. They have a face. They have a soul. And those people need you more than you will ever understand. That changed you. The authentic you. The you that Jesus came in and changed. Would you stand with me today? Today, God, we ask, Lord, that you fill us with confidence. Lord, that you fill us with an invigorating passion for people. That God, for those who are thirsty, for those who are hungry, that God, we see how we can play a part, how we can make a difference in their life. God, help us. God, to be that light. Lord, to live our life in a way that people see you in what we say. They see you in what we do. They see you in how we behave. They see you in how we talk. They see you in how we live. Help us live in a way, God, that we are always pointing people to you. That, God, we start understanding that there are always people watching. There's always someone listening. God, help us have room in our hearts and in our families for one more. That, God, when we grow by one, we just add another chair. When we grow by another one, we add another chair. Because, God, you're going to surround us over and over and over again with people who need love, people who need life change, people who need hope, people who need you, which means they need us. Because, God, you have gifted us. You've encouraged us. You've equipped us to make a difference. Help us be that change today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.